Hans Andersen, candidate for Orem City Mayor. I've lived in Orem most of my life. My father actually moved out here and bought a farm in Orem when I was 10 years old, and I still live there. I milked cows there, raised chickens, picked a lot of fruit. My wife and I have 19 children. We have 41 grandchildren. A lot of us still live here in Orem, and we love our grandkids. By profession, I'm a CPA. I have a home office. My wife, Melody, is also running for city council. She's on the ballot, and if you like my views, you're going to like Melody's views. We're quite similar. My mother also lives with us. She's 97 years old. She's lived with us for 20 years. We love and enjoy my mother also. UVU has had quite an impact on our city. We have more and more students coming into the area, and there are neighbors which are concerned about it. I spoke about this group that's neighbor to the UVU and the growth pattern that's taking place there. And what I proposed then, and I'm still proposing it today, is UVU should take the same approach that BYU did. When homes come up for sale that are in the area, they can buy that home. And they can use them for offices. Like BYU, they'll use them for the Spanish home, the Italian home, the German home. And that way they can pick up homes in the neighborhood, but they still stay homes. And eventually, when they've got enough of the area that it's not going to affect existing homes, existing neighbors, existing values, then they might add something to it. But my approach to it is a much slower approach, possibly, than what the UVU may want or have planned. UVU is a state university, and we really have no control over UVU. The state of Utah determines that. They determine their size. We have the power of suggestion for what happens at UVU. But we like the students. We like to have them there. We've had some construction going on for it, but I think it's getting way out of hand. When I was on the Orem City Council, there was a new building which was proposed called the Jive Building, and it was down on 1200 West, and it was right across the street from a large neighborhood. I voted against that because of the impact it was going to have on the neighbors. And most of the city council, including my opponent, voted for it. But if we're going to be involved in affecting the values of people's homes in that area, I plan on voting the same way on that as I did on the Jive Building. Fortunately for Orem residents in that neighborhood down there, after the fight that we put up, saying we don't want it in this neighborhood, Jive actually decided not to come to Orem after all. So we won, but it was after they decided they didn't want to come after we had raised the issue in the neighborhood. I'd like to talk about Utopia. This is a big issue for me. When I first got on the city council, there were 6 members of the city council who wanted to raise your property taxes for Utopia. I was the only one who didn't want to raise your taxes for Utopia. And when the rest of the city council said we were going to raise your property taxes, I did a referendum, the first one in over 40 years in Orem. The last one was on fluoridated water back in the 70s. Well, 69% of you agreed with me, and we voted against the Orem City Council, against the mayor and the other city council members. We said, no, you're not going to raise our property taxes for Utopia. And that's still my position. Now, those of you that have received flyers from Orem City, you may recall that it has 3 big projects that the city council is working on this year. The one in the center is Utopia, and they're talking about it, and they're talking about it. And you know what they've come up with so far? We're going to raise a fee or a bond or a tax to expand Utopia. Mayor Bruntz has already come out in favor of that, a $15 million bond. He did it back on October 11. If you go to my website, voteforhance.com, you can hear him say that he is in favor of this $15 million bond. And I'm not. One of the differences between my opponent and the incumbents who are opposed to my wife is they think they can fix it. To me, UTOPIA is a failed system. And if they want to use your money to raise fees, bonds, taxes of any kind, my favor is let you vote on it. I'll never vote to raise your taxes. I'll never vote to put you in a bond, which my opponent has said he will. I'll let you vote on it. I'll vote to let you vote. I'll not vote to do that to you myself. So far, that's their only solution, is to borrow more money for this failed system. They can't get private enterprise to help them, and so they're back at you. But you need to watch. The city manager on this same October 11th meeting said he thought that the majority of the Orem City Council was now ready to do some type of financing for UTOPIA. That was his opinion, the majority of them. Do you know which ones those are? Because you may want to find out who's in favor of financing. That's a code word for bonding, putting you into debt. And the best thing you can do to stop financing, bonding for UTOPIA is you vote out of office the 4 members of the Orem City Council. That includes the mayor, who are running for office this time. They're the ones that have a problem. And the mayor is the one who already said he's ready for it. I know other city councilmen that say they're ready for it. But the best thing you can do is you vote all 4 of them out of office. Some of them will tell you that they're not really voting for UTOPIA. When they talk, they say we're voting for conduit. And that's not UTOPIA. What they don't tell you is the conduit. They say this is for everybody. And they mean by everybody. Comcast could put it in there. Well, they're not going to. They already have most of the city wired. CenturyLink could. But you know who would do it? UTOPIA would do it. They'd be right there, and you're going to pay to run that conduit throughout this city. I will not vote to put you citizens into debt. If the mayor wanted to do this, and he does, he ought to let you vote on it. And that's one big difference. When I've done these referendums, I want to get your citizen input. I want you to make these decisions on mortgaging your city. Let me give you one more reason why they will not let you vote on UTOPIA. When I did the referendum, the first year I was elected, 69% of you said no more money for UTOPIA. 69% of you said no. Now the city manager says the majority of the city council now is in favor of some type of financing, which means city money, which means your money, my fellow Orem taxpayers. That's why they will not let you vote on it, because they already know you will turn it down. You will turn it down. And that's another reason you fire the 4 current city councilmen and the mayor running for office. Don't vote for any of the incumbents. You're going to find yourself right back where you were with another city council, another mayor trying to put you into debt for UTOPIA. As I was saying, when Melody and I worked on this referendum and got 69% of you to vote against it, we spent our own money. I ran those off my own computer. In fact, the referendums that you have seen, if you've seen a referendum in the city of Orem or the city of Provo in the last 6 years, I touched it before you did, because I ran every one of those off on my computer, bought the materials, and helped anyone that was trying to do a referendum so that we could get the citizens' input on it. You know, the mayor and the incumbents have just spent over $42,000 hiring a high-priced attorney in Salt Lake for one reason: to keep you from voting on the BRT. They don't want you to vote on the BRT. That money would have been much better spent if they had spent it trying to figure out how to break out of UTOPIA. One of the reasons that Orem City has never seriously looked at that is our last 3 city managers, including the current city manager, Jamie Davidson, they are all UTOPIA men. They all favor UTOPIA. They all favor a government internet system. So there has never been a good faith effort to see if we can break out of this UTOPIA contract or not. They don't want to get out of it. They want to have you hung with it. And they want to raise your taxes or raise your bonding and use current tax revenues to keep UTOPIA going. And that's one of the things I would do if I were the mayor, is I would instruct the city attorney, you go work on this project. Instead of figuring out how to take more money away from the taxpayers and stopping them from voting on this stuff, You go work on figuring out how to get out of it. Can you imagine wasting $42,000 of taxpayers' money just to stop the citizens from voting on a referendum that they already voted for? I mean, they signed signatures to petitions saying they want to vote on it. And I want your input on this. But that's why they will not let you vote on it, because they already know what you're going to do to them. If you want to have your voice heard on the Utopia question, your vote, then the best thing you can do is fire the 4 incumbents and hire 4 new people who will care about your vote. That's what you need, 4 new people who are not going to figure out how to tax you, bond you, and not let you vote on it. Fire the 4 and hire 4 new people. Another issue I think we need to discuss is the new city center that's being talked about. You know, we don't have enough money in our reserve fund to pay for a new city center. And they're going to talk about it. Now here's another answer which is identical to the answer I gave to the last question. I want you as citizens to be able to vote on whether or not you want to be bonded or taxed to pay for a new Orem City Center. You know, if a 5.5 earthquake will level the Orem City Center, it'll probably level most of the homes in Orem. I don't know when that's going to happen, but I do know that you citizens are the ones who are going to have to pay for it if they do bond for it. Did you know, and I checked with the county on this here a few weeks back, if the Orem City Council really wanted to put a bond up, borrow money, a loan for this new city center, as long as they vote for it, they can put it on the ballot 65 days, as long as they vote on it 65 days before the election. We have 2 elections a year, citywide, and you can put a question on the ballot on any of those elections, and it costs $300 to $500, and you can ask the citizens, do you want to do this or not? And that's my proposal. Instead of you and me sitting around talking about it, and then if elected they could say, well, we told you we might do it, don't elect the 4 members of city council sitting around talking about it. If they cared about what you thought, they would put it on the ballot this November. They could easily do it. They could propose that they say we want it. They could propose that we want a bond for it, and they could put that on the ballot. You could vote on it. But again, do you know why they won't do that? Because these 4 incumbents up for re-election do not want to know what your vote is, because they already know what your vote is going to be. You're going to vote no, and that's why they won't ask you. My administration, as mayor, I suppose you could call that an administration, I'd be one of 7 votes, but I would try and convince the rest of the city council, instead of us deciding to put this city into debt, or us deciding to spend that kind of money on a new city center, let's let the citizens vote on it. Let's let them decide. And that's another area where I differ. I want your input. I want your vote. I trust your judgment more than I trust my own or the rest of the city council, the current mayor. That's a big area where we differ. I want your input. Okay, the next issue I wanted to talk about is economic development. Orem City being an economic powerhouse throughout the county. I believe that's true, but you might ask, well, what are we going to do to continue it? Well, what I'm going to do is vote for private enterprise. Now, a difference between the mayor and the 3 incumbents running against my wife is that they do not believe in private enterprise. They believe in subsidized businesses, government subsidies. And I don't believe in that. I do not believe government should ever be involved in picking and choosing winners and losers and giving them advantages. For instance, all 4 members running for office, all 4 incumbents, voted to give them all a $58 million subsidy. The largest landlord in the city, the biggest property owner in the city, and the Orem City Council voted to give them a $58 million property tax subsidy. Now, what they'll tell you is they're going to pay their taxes. Yes, they're going to pay their taxes. What they do is they pay it in November, and then they get 68% of it refunded to them in February, 3 months later. So they can honestly say they paid their taxes, but they don't tell you they're going to get 68% of it back for the next 20 years. You know, when the incumbents who are running for office this time voted for this, the mall was so excited to have it that they sent out this thank you, kind of like a victory lap. It's got the picture of Mayor Brunst, Sumner, Spencer, and McDonald. They all voted to give these people $58 million. And I suppose you could afford to spend a few $1,000. Well, I suppose it was more than that because they sent thousands of these all over the city. But this is what is known as crony capitalism. Let me prove to you Democrats, you independents, and Republicans why you need to vote against these 4 people up for re-election who the mall got $58 million of your tax dollars from. One of the reasons Democrats are Democrats is they don't like the close relationship, the chummy relationship between government and businesses. Independents reject both parties because they see this kind of crony capitalism going on. Well, I think the Republicans have started to learn the lesson about this. The Republican Party platform, it talks about the Orem mayor and the 3 Orem city councilmen up for re-election. Let me read what they say, and this is right out of the Republican Party platform. If you want to get your copy of it, you can get it off the internet. And it's under, the platform is broken out into different sections on why they say what they say. One of their sections is crony capitalism and corporate welfare. Crony capitalism and corporate welfare. Here's where the Republican Party platform talks about the Orem City Council. Crony capitalism gives us special interest tax breaks, custom-designed regulations, and special exemptions for favored parties. It leads to economic stagnation. And I believe that. When you hand out money, you put your finger on the scale and you tilt it in favor of the person you're giving the money to. And that's what the Orem City Council has done. They have tilted the scale. And if you believe the Republican Party, Democrats and independents believe it, and now Republicans believe it, it leads to economic stagnation. So if you want economic growth in Orem that's real and not economic stagnation, then you fire Mayor Brunst and you fire his 3 city council buddies who voted to give them all this $58 million subsidy. It leads to economic stagnation. It does not lead to economic growth. If you want to clean up Orem, vote out of office the crony capitalists and vote into office Hans Andersen and Melody Andersen, and we'll go to work and try and get all of them convinced that subsidies are wrong. It's crony capitalism, it's stagnation. They need to hear a new voice on that. Subsidies are not just a political and an economic sin. They're also a moral sin. My favorite city councilman was Harold B. Lee. He was a Salt Lake City councilman. His statement, and I want you to listen to this because the mayor and the incumbents running for office do not believe this. He said, and I quote, "I warn you that government subsidies are not the Lord's way." So subsidies are also a moral issue. They not only lead to economic stagnation, they lead to payoffs, people giving money to campaigns, buddy-buddy type stuff. It's also a moral problem. And it hurts everyone. It hurts the people that get the money because they no longer have to strive to produce the best goods and services. It hurts the people who are trying to compete with them. Another issue that I would really like to discuss is the State Street Master Plan and its effect on Orem City and its effect on small businesses. When I was on the City Council, I was the only member of the Orem City Council to vote against the State Street Master Plan. Here it is. It's a couple of hundred pages. Most people have not read it. Many people have never even heard of it. And I wanted to talk about this, how this is going to affect small businesses. To begin with, the best thing you can do with the State Street Master Plan that Mayor Brunst and the other incumbents running for office have voted for, the very best thing you can do for Orem City and Orem City small businesses is to repeal the State Street Master Plan. That's what my wife and I will vote to do. If you put us on the Orem City Council, we will repeal the State Street Master Plan if we can get enough other city councilmen to go with us. To begin with, on this State Street Master Plan, most of you have driven down University Parkway and you see that whole street under construction. It's all being torn up. You know why they're doing it? They're putting 3 lines right down the middle of University Parkway to have what they call dedicated bus lanes. Bus Rapid Transit, BRT. They're tearing up all the trees. They're making a mess. And the mayor and all the incumbents voted for that. They all voted to do that. Mayor Brunst even went back east, went back to Washington, D.C. and lobbied for it. And I asked the city council, let's write a letter to Congress and tell them, this is a couple of years ago when it was still in question whether or not we were even going to get the money, don't do this. Don't do this to our city. Well, I ended up writing the letter all by myself because the rest of the city councilmen were against me. They were for Mayor Brunst, and they voted for it. You need to go back and read the whereases. The city councilmen like to say, well, we didn't vote for that. We voted for green trees and grass. But if you read where they voted for green trees and grass, it said they had to vote for the green trees and grass in order to get the money to build the thing. Now, what does that have to do with the State Street Master Plan and small businesses? Here is the State Street Master Plan. On the front page right here, if you can see this, those are 3 train cars. This is what the BRT will go to after they get through putting the bus lanes in. They're putting the bus lanes down the middle so that they can put the trains down the middle. That's why they're doing it. They want trains. This is not just a bus thing, it's a train thing. Now, the Orem City Council, the mayor, Mayor Brunst, and the 3 city councilmen that my wife is running against, the 3 incumbents, they voted to do the same thing right down State Street that they also voted to do on University Parkway. It's right there. You can't miss it. It's on the front page. And it's on 4 or 5 other pages as you go through here. That's one of the reasons I say repeal the State Street Master Plan. They are going to destroy State Street. It's not a good thing. I would say this is another issue where I disagree with the mayor and the city council, is you should vote on this. Not the mayor, who's been back to Washington lobbying for it, not the city council who voted. This is 5.37 miles long that you're looking at. And another problem with this State Street Master Plan, which many people don't know, is small businesses. If you go over here to page 50 of the State Street Master Plan, you need to go online and look at this. If you go to page 50, it says that they're going to cut overall retail space on State Street by 35%. Now, who do you think's going to go? Who do you think's going to go? It's going to be the small businesses, and big businesses like the mall, who got a $58 million subsidy. They're going to just keep passing out more subsidies. That's what they're going to do. 35% reduction in retail space. That's another thing that's wrong with the State Street Master Plan that my incumbent and the 3 incumbents running against my wife voted for. So much for small businesses. One of the ways they're going to do this, they've already done it, is they're going to zone down these areas where if you want to improve your business, it'll be almost impossible to do it. They'll call you a non-conforming business even though you've been there for 30 or 40 years. But that's a way to run you out of business. Here's another problem with the State Street Master Plan. Another reason you need to fire the 4 incumbents for voting for this. This is on page 45. And they've got their circles drawn here going up State Street. They project, this is what they've already voted for, 9,411 new apartments. And it's got it broken down by these 5 arrow or targets going up and down State Street, where they're going to build 9,411 new apartments. That's why this mayor and city council should be called the people who favor Apartment City USA, not Family City USA. They've already said this is where they want to put 9,411 new apartments. Now, if you talk to them about it, they'll say, well, that's not true. I voted for a moratorium on buildings. And what they're talking about is they voted for a moratorium down here and over here and over here. They don't tell you that these streets here, where you see these targets, that's where they're going to put 9,411 more apartments. That's in addition to the 1,500 that they voted for at the mall that are under construction right now. So that's another reason to vote against the mayor and the members of the Orem City Council. Let me give you one more reason to vote against the mayor and the 4 members of the city council. The people who wrote up this State Street master plan explained why State Street is so bad. In their opinion, why it's so bad. This is back here in the appendix under Next Steps, the mission. The revitalization of the State Street corridor will not happen organically. In other words, they're saying it's not going to happen unless we push it and make it happen by passing out subsidies and downgrading and declaring non-conforming existing businesses. They're going to push these people. It's going to be by force. It's not going to be organic or natural. It says the curious mix we have in Orem is of, let me start over here. The curious mix we have here in Orem of laissez-faire capitalism, pioneer frugality, and conservative limited government expectations have created the State Street that we have today. When we discussed this on the Orem City Council, I said, this is what identifies me. Limited government, capitalism, pioneer frugality. And these are the things that the mayor and the city council agree, well, yeah, that's the problem, that we have this, and so we're going to come up with a whole new solution. And their whole new solution is mass transit and high-density housing. Now, these are all reasons that I voted against the State Street Master Plan, and they're all reasons why you should vote against the mayor and the current city council. They think this is modern and neat. They've already voted to do this mass transit thing. They're going to tear up State Street just like they're doing University Parkway. I want to give you some thoughts here as to another reason you should vote against the mayor and the city council. Here's the Republican Party platform, and it talks again about the mayor and the city council. The other quote I gave to you was on their subsidies. Here's on their rezoning and their 9,400 apartments and their mass transit. This is on page 5 of the Republican Party platform. It reads, the current administration, and this is talking about Obama. This is the 2016. They're talking about Obama. The current administration has a different approach. It's comparing the Republican Party platform to the Democratic Party platform. It says, talking about the Obama and the Orem City Council, it says, it subordinates civil engineering to social engineering as it pursues an exclusively urban vision of dense housing and government transit. Dense housing and government transit. You know, if you don't build 9,400 apartments, you don't need mass transit. Another problem I have with mass transit, maybe some of you have watched the paper. It talked about how last year, do you know which city had the greatest increase in property crime and burglary in the nation? Provo. And do you know what the reason for it is? According to the chief of police, crime is increasing in Provo because of the UTA coming down, the front runner, and the chief of police for UTA, the Transit Authority Police, said he's needing to hire more police officers for down here. And why is he going to need to hire more police officers? He says the influx of people coming in here on the BRT and the front runner will be people who are mentally ill coming down from Salt Lake and further north, the criminally minded people, and the homeless people. He said that's what's done it, creating this criminal problem that we have here in Provo, and it's going to happen in Orem. Once this BRT thing opens up more of the streets in Orem, we're going to have our crime go through the roof too. It's already happened. I was talking to one fellow who works with this, and I said, these people are coming down here. We see more and more people coming into Orem and Provo, homeless people, criminal population, criminal going up. And I said, how do they get here? And he referred me to some newspaper articles out of West Valley and Salt Lake where they say the police send them down here. Another problem, as I said, well, if they don't send them down here, how do they get here? He said, well, what they do is they get on at the free ride place, then they just keep coming. And occasionally they check for tickets. And I said, well, what happens if they don't have a ticket? He said, well, they make them get off at the next stop. And then 20, 30 minutes later, when the next train comes by, they just get back on. So they just have a little pit stop on the way down to Provo. And they like us down here because we're more charitable, I suppose. But anyway, these are reasons to vote against Mayor Brunst, to vote against Sumner, McDonald, and Spencer. They have voted to bring this BRT thing in, and it's not right. One of the things I got a kick out of, it might call this a fact check, going through their pamphlets that they're passing out, is that they say, well, we haven't raised anybody's taxes, and we haven't borrowed any money. What they don't tell you is they voted to spend $75 million of federal money to help build this mass transit. So they took $75 million of federal money, just like that's free money, and that's what they're using to tear up the streets. They voted for that. To me, that's morally wrong to make somebody else pay for your streets on a mass transit system, especially when the guy that's giving you the money is broke. I mean, our federal government is broke, and all we did was add to the problem. The other thing that they did, borrowing money, which they don't talk about, is that $65 million of that money is going to be paid for by you county residents. Orem's second biggest city. We're going to be paying a big part of that $65 million bond they voted for. They said, well, we didn't vote to raise your taxes. We didn't vote to put you into deeper debt. Yes, you did, Mayor, Orem City Council. You voted for that. You just said we're going to let the federal government carry $75 million of it and the county carry $65 million of it. Now, here's another reason the mayor did not want you to vote on that. In Proposition 1, you had the chance to decide whether or not you wanted to give more money to UTA for buses. And 54% of you citizens in Orem said no more money for the UTA. 57% of Provo said no more money for UTA. The whole county said 59% no more money. Now that's one of the reasons that the mayor has said we're not going to let you people vote on it. Here's another reason you need to fire Mayor Brunst and the other 3 city councilmen up for election. They say we've got to handle growth. Here are pictures of their planned growth. 4- and 6-story high-density family living units. That's their way of handling growth in Orem. Now, how many of you have children who want to live in a 4- or 6-story apartment building? I know my children don't. I would propose that instead of doing this, we put it on the ballot. Let the mayor and let the city council say, we want to build 9,411 apartments in Orem, and this is our master plan. And we're going to put in, they show current homes, they show duplexes and fourplexes and stuff like that. They say, here's what we really want in their State Street master plan. This is how we're going to handle growth in Orem. I think you as Orem residents ought to make that decision, not the mayor and not the city council. That's my vote. My vote is to let you vote whether or not you want to have 9,400 new apartments in 4- and 6-story buildings and not even tell the citizens about it. They have not read this. They haven't looked on this. These are issues that I fought against when I was on the Orem City Council, because I do not believe people in this city want that. And so that's why I say again, the best thing you can do is to fire the mayor and fire the 3 incumbents running for office. That'll give us 4 new votes, and then we can repeal the State Street Master Plan. Then you can take back your city. You can take it back. As I already pointed out in the Republican Party platform, they call it social engineering. It's something the Obama administration pushes. Social engineering, mass transit, and high-density housing. It's wrong. You don't want it, whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent. You need to fire these 4 people running for office and then help us repeal this State Street Master Plan. Let's let you vote on this. Another issue I have with the mayor and the Orem City Council is Family City USA versus Apartment City USA. I grew up here. I grew up on a 15-acre farm. My dad let me have an acre to grow cantaloupes on. I used to sell them 10 cents a piece and 3 for a quarter. We still have 5 acres. We've got a lot more land than most people do. But my dream for Orem City is not to say, let's see how many people we can stack up in 4- and 6-story buildings in the interest of having growth. This is not Family City USA. If you like the city to have 9,400 new apartments, if you want the city to have mass transit going right down State Street, then you vote for those other people. You vote for the mayor, vote for the city council that's already in there, and you're going to have it because they've already voted for it. They've already said this is what they want. My vision is we're going to keep this city to be Family City USA. And if someone wants to say, let's have a State Street master plan, let's have 9,400 apartments, let's have mass transit running right down the middle of State Street, which these men have already voted for, I would say, let's let you vote on it. Let's let you vote on it. This is your city. This is not their city. This should have your vision, not their vision for Orem City. I want it to be Family City USA. This is where I've lived almost my whole life. And I've got a better situation than most. But as I watch these things go up, it's time that you got your vote involved in it. I helped do referendums. I've actually helped do 6 referendums, 1 in Provo, 1 county, and 4 here in Orem. I already have my bona fides that I care what you think. And if there's something as big as this $190 million waste going down University Parkway, which I fought to get petitions, signatures on, we got enough signatures, but the mayor and the other 3 members of the council spent $42,000 with high-priced attorneys just to keep you from voting on it. That's what they've done. I was down in court here 3 weeks ago, and they were saying, well, don't let them vote on this. And they've just stretched this thing out for a year because they don't want your vote on that. They don't want your vote on the State Street Master Plan. You cannot trust these people to do what is best for your city. That's why I say let you vote for or against the State Street Master Plan, because that is what is going to decide whether or not you're going to have Family City USA. They've already torn up the south side of the city. They'll do it with the rest of the city with State Street Master Plan. I'd like your vote. I'd like you also to vote for my wife, Melody, because we've discussed these things for years, and we have very similar views on what is best for Orem City. One of the things I'd like to encourage you people to do so you can get an idea of my values versus the mayor's values and the incumbent's values is go to my website, voteforhance.com. I have 6 videos on there. I'll be adding more videos on there where you can go in and see me, you can see my wife. We're talking about several issues, including the ones which the Herald has asked us to talk about here today. I want you to go to the website, voteforhance.com, where we can expound on and explain more of these issues. Another thing I'd like to encourage you to do is go to the Salt Lake Tribune. If you go on there, you'll see 25 pages of emails where Mayor Brunst is asking, there's several issues. One of them is where he's actually asking a city employee to call some people to get money to vote against the things I wanted done. He's out getting city employees to campaign for his issues. Another thing he's done is he's had this city employee hold pro-BRT meetings, pro this construction, out at the Orem City Hall. That's illegal according to city or state code, which says no entity should be using resources and take a position on issues which the city residents are going to be voting on. It's very clear. Another email you'll read in there is where when they were doing the Jive building, he was asking several city employees to monitor what's going on with these people that are doing a petition down there. And if they do anything, he's telling the city to use their websites, to use their social media, use their Facebook, to put a positive face on the rezoning for the Jive building. You'll see a city employee contacting Matt Holland, and the city employee writing up a pro mass transit article to go into the Deseret News. He ghost writes it for him. The mayor is asking him to do these things. It's wrong. I don't know where he's the mayor, if they're going to do anything about it, but if you read the state code, it's very clear they are not to do this. And these people are doing this on government time. As a mayor, I would never do that. I would never do that. I don't know if he'd be fined for it or not. I guess we can wait and see. But if you read the state code, it's very clear these things are not proper. I mean, I'm glad to see he's enthusiastic about not wanting you to vote. I'm enthusiastic on wanting you to vote. You ought to have enthusiastic people running for office. But this is wrong, what he's done to try to stop you from voting. This $42,000, he and the rest of the council have given this high-powered attorney to stop you from voting. That's wrong. They should not be doing that. Another thing you'll see if you're going to read these emails is where this city employee that the mayor is talking to, he writes an email to the University Mall, and he says, I have gathered all these statements from Val Hale and from Matt Holland, from Curtis, from the head of the Chamber of Commerce, and he said, I want to put all these up on the mall's big LED screen. You know, it's right there on the corner out there. And he says, all of these, you got to read the email. I'm not making this up. He said, these statements are against the petition. That he doesn't use my name, but I was the one running this petition. He says, but we will not use the word petition. Why does he say we're not going to use the word petition? Because he says, based on the agreement which we made when we gave you this $58 million subsidy, they call it a CDA, this $58 million subsidy, we have the right to make public announcements on your LED screen. And therefore, we're going to cash in on that now, and you're going to run these ads for us. Now, of course, the mall is all in favor of the subsidy, the $58 million they got. They also are all in favor of this mass transit system that's going down the Parkway, and then when they get done with that, they'll mess up State Street. They're all in favor of this, but they were washing each other's hands and saying, we're going to put this up on the screen, and city employees are running it. You'll see another one where the same city employee is lining up people to do a video that's pro-BRT. You need to see this. Now, like I say, I'm glad he's enthusiastic, but these are things which a mayor should not be involved in. And I'll give you my word, I will not be involved in it. I will not interfere with your right to vote. I'm not going to do that. I'll not use city employees. I won't use city resources. I won't use city contracts. I won't use city emails. One of these fellows got fined because he sent out 276 illegal emails. Now I've got a whole bunch more, and I want you to look at them. But I want you to compare that attitude of enthusiasm for stopping you from voting to my attitude of saying, I want you to vote. That's one of the biggest things which I bring to Orem City, a respect for you. And I will listen to you. And I won't spend your money and using city employees to stop you from voting on something that I already know that you would vote against. I won't do that to you. I hope you vote for Hans Andersen. I hope you vote for Melody Andersen. Go to voteforhance.com to see these videos that we've got. And I think I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to go ahead and put these emails on my website. And you can also go see them on the Salt Lake Tribune. They're right there. You can go through and read them. These are not my words. These are city employees. You can see the city manager there. You can see the assistant city manager. You can see other city employees all working together to figure out how to thwart your right to vote. Thwart you from signing petitions. Try and talk you out of it. And it's illegal. Read the state code on it too. And thank you for letting me wax so eloquent. I hope you made it to the end of this. Thank you for your time.